Good evening, I'm Shawn Yao.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Regina Lay. The big stories tonight, 8 people in the first set of cases to be filed over the flood control scandal are now in government custody, and all of them are former DPWH officials.
And after one senator flags an extortion scheme at the BIR through letters of authority, new BIR chief Martin Mendoza orders the suspension of all field audits, including the issuance of LOAs and mission orders.
And President Bongbong Marcos and Senator Amy Marcos carry on with their very public word war. The president says the lady we see on TV is not his sister.
Wala ho kami binibuksan na special wing. So kung saan yung mga general population ng Quezon City inmates, doon rin sila nakatira ngayon. So no special treatment.
Ang kabuuang pera na dumaan sa akin para ibigay kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos at kay dating Speaker Martin Romualdez ay umabot sa 56 billion pesos.
Ako, hindi ako nagtatago eh. Kung meron kang akusasyon sa akin, nandito ako. For it to mean something, umuwi siya dito. Harapin niya yung mga kaso niya.
The DILG gave former Congressman Zaldy Co until today to surrender after graft charges were filed against him and more than a dozen others over anomalies in the flood control projects.
But instead of turning himself in, Co dropped yet another video on social media implicating President Bongbong Marcos and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez once again in the flood control scandal.
Meanwhile, 8 officials tagged in the case, all from the Public Works Department, are spending the night in jail. Mobile journalist Arles de los Santos with tonight's big story.
8 public works officials from Mimaropa face Sandigan Bayan's 5th and 6th divisions following their arrest for graft and malversation charges. Among them, former Regional Director Gerald Pacanan and Engineer Dennis Abagon, who was apprehended in Quezon City, allegedly in the house of a vice mayor from Oriental Mindoro. Authorities declined to name the vice mayor for now, as the matter is still under investigation. Oriental Mindoro, of course, was where the road dike in Mag-asawang Tubig River in Nahuan was located, found to be overpriced, unfinished, and substandard despite its price of a little over 289 million pesos. The booking procedure and commitment order for the first batch of respondents over the flood control mess took 5 hours. Juliet Calvo, DPWH Mimaropa's Chief of Maintenance, was allowed to post bail of 90,000 pesos for her graft complaint. But she will remain in detention for another charge. The rest will now have to stay in jail while their case is being heard. The men were brought to the Building A of the new Quezon City Jail Male Dormitory, while the women were brought to Camp Caringal. According to Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla, the suspects will be accorded strict security. And there will be no special treatment when visiting hours limited.
As of now, nasa Gen Pop pa rin sila. Wala ho kami binibuksan na special wing. So kung saan yung mga general population ng Quezon City inmates, doon rin sila nakatira ngayon. So no special treatment para sa kanila.
Ng kanilang tasking ng isang regular na nakakulong. Igising po sila sa umaga, take personal necessities, then kakain, then may sunning area po kami sa taas. Pwede rin ho silang maglaro dyan ng whatsoever. Bawal ho magluto sa loob dito.
Remulla also revealed that 3 more wanted personalities who were currently out of the country have sent surrender feelers. But former Ako Bicol Party List Congressman Zaldy Co is not one of them. Instead, Co posted yet another video implicating once more President Bongbong Marcos and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez in what he called the biggest corruption in flood control projects.
Ang kabuuang pera na dumaan sa akin para ibigay kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos at kay dating Speaker Martin Romualdez ay umabot sa 56 billion pesos.
According to Co, he delivered the money between 2022 and 2025 with not a single centavo going to him. The amount is on top of the 100 billion pesos the president allegedly ordered inserted in the 2025 national budget. Co has been accused of pocketing 21 billion pesos from these supposed transactions.
Hindi po totoo yun. Wala akong natanggap na ganyang halaga.
This was how the scheme went according to Co. Once he was picked as House Appropriations Committee Chairman.
Sinabi na agad sa akin ni Speaker Romualdez na kailangan ko makapag-deliver ng 2 billion pesos kada buwan.
After that, the resigned lawmaker allegedly met with former DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo and dismissed Bulacan District Engineer Henry Alcantara. The topic, how the kickbacks should be divided. Co claimed that it was Alcantara's staff who coordinated with his personnel, namely Paul Estrada and Martin Saya. The cash deliveries were reportedly made in Valle Verde or at BGC parking. Again, the former congressman, now on the run, claimed he was just a conduit.
Dumaan lang po sa akin ang pera na agad dinideliver kay Speaker Romualdez. Ang sinabi mismo ni Speaker Martin sa akin na hati sila ni Pangulong Marcos sa perang yon.
To prove his point, Co showed photos of luggages of money that were allegedly from Marcos and Romualdez. Co added that during budget deliberations in November 2024, Justice Undersecretary Jojo Cadiz talked to him about deliveries.
Sabi niya, masama raw ang loob ni Pangulong Marcos, wala raw siyang natatanggap na remittance. At dahil laging napapagalitan si Speaker Martin ng Pangulo, inutusan niya ako na mag-deliver ng 1 billion pesos para kay BBM.
Co claimed to have delivered 1 billion pesos to Cadiz at South Forbes Park, which the latter in turn delivered to the President's house in the same subdivision. For authorities, the latest social media testimony of Co, as in his past video statements, hold no weight until he swears under oath.
Report sila sa embassy within this week. At sinabi naman namin sa kanila na na-track na namin sila, alam namin kung nasaan sila, alam namin kung anong address nila abroad. There's no use hiding. So mahahanap at mahahanap namin sila.
Meanwhile, Philippine National Police personnel brought 95 boxes of documents to the Office of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure or ICI on Monday afternoon. This allegedly contained the result of investigations from various agencies of government on 28 infrastructure projects. This time from the cities of San Juan and Manila, Albay, Sorsogon and Tarlac, as well as from Southern Leyte, Negros Island and Zamboanga del Sur. Among the contractors here are St. Timothy Construction, Alpha and Omega, and SunWest.
It's nationwide kasi wala na nga kami pinipili. As long as they complete or get documents, sabi namin sa kanila, dalhin nyo na dito. Kasama naman yan sa aming mga isasubmit sa Ombudsman if we eventually verify that these are actually ghost projects.
ICI Executive Director Brian Hosaka also clarified that while they joined forces with the DPWH in referring cases against House Speaker Martin Romualdez, they also submitted unique pieces of evidence which they believe can also help in the Ombudsman investigation.
We had a separate submission to the Office of the Ombudsman because nung nalaman namin na merong referral ng DPWH, we saw it proper na isubmit na rin namin kung ano man yung mga dokumento at saka mga ebidensya na meron kami related to that.
Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.
President Bongbong Marcos began this week with another update on the flood control scandal. He announced the development of a transparency portal this afternoon where the public can access information on government projects and their contractors. The site would include the details of contractors, implementing offices, budgets, project locations, and their real-time status. He said the government will also upload satellite photos of all the projects, which will also be geotagged. Marcos said the portal aims to make every stage of the project accessible to the public, allowing for easier monitoring and detection of irregularities.
Isa sa pinakamahalagang bagay na maliwanag na lumabas sa lahat ng mga investigasyon, sa lahat ng mga pangyayari, ay nawalan tayo ng transparency. Hindi nakikita ng tao kung ano talaga ang pangyayari sa loob ng pamahalaan. Kaya naman kung ano-anong ginagawa, walang nagsusumbong dahil hindi nakikita na itatago nila. Etong mga wrongdoers na ito, tinatago nila yung kanilang kalokohan. Nandito ngayon upang i-roll out, that we use the word, or the DPWH Transparency Portal. And ito ay isang sistema na ating binuo upang kahit sino, hindi kailangan opisyal, kahit sino na kung nais nilang maghanap na impormasyon tungkol sa isang project, tungkol sa project dun sa kanilang lugar ay maaari nilang gawin.
The president was also asked about Zaldy Co's latest video linking him to over 50 billion pesos in alleged kickbacks from infrastructure projects, and Co also, of course, posted photos detailing the alleged deliveries made from 2022 to 2025 for Marcos and his cousin, former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Marcos just shrugged this off once again, saying that such claims meant nothing until Co comes home and proves the allegations.
For it to mean something, umuwi siya rito. Harapin niya yung mga kaso niya. Kung meron siyang gusto sabihin, sabihin niya. Malalaman naman ng tao yan eh. Patunayan niya. But come home. Come home. Ba't ka nagtatago sa malayo? Ako, hindi ako nagtatago eh. Kung meron kang akusasyon sa akin, nandito ako.
The president also responded to questions about former Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin's sudden departure from the cabinet.
The question about the Chief Luke and myself, wala, nag-uusap na kami. And we understand each other and we decided to keep it between ourselves. There's no bad blood, there is no acrimonious feeling there.
At the same press conference, President Bongbong Marcos was also asked about Senator Amy Marcos accusing him and his family of using illegal drugs. Here's how the president responded.
For a while now, we've been very worried about my sister. The reason that is because the lady that you see talking on TV is not my sister. And that view is shared by our cousins, our friends. Hindi siya yan. Hindi siya yan. I hope she feels better soon.
The president also admitted that he and his sister are estranged and have not spoken in a while.
We no longer travel in the same circles, political or otherwise.
Not even an hour since the president's press conference, Senator Amy Marcos took to social media to respond. In her two-sentence reply, she said, "Bongbong, ako to. Kung ano-ano na nakikita mo, ading. Patunayan mong mali ako, gusto kong mali ako." Remember, this all started last November 17 during the Iglesia ni Cristo or INC rally, when Senator Amy alleged that her brother, the First Lady, including their sons, used illegal drugs. It was promptly dismissed by Malacanang as a desperate move aimed at destroying the president.
Now in other news, the Interpol has issued a red notice against key POGO figures Cassandra Leong and Ronelyn Baterna. Ong and Baterna are facing charges of qualified human trafficking for their links with Lucky South 99, a POGO hub in Porac, Pampanga that allegedly facilitated criminal activities. PAOK spokesman Winston Casio confirmed the red notice status on these two, which means the Interpol will provisionally arrest them pending extradition, surrender, or similar legal action. Ong was quietly released from the Correctional Institute for Women in December of 2024, which came as a surprise for senators like Risa Ontiveros. Ong's lawyer, Ferdinand Topacio, told our sister program Storycon that he himself has not talked to her for quite some time now.
Well, we had no communication for some time now, but of course there are some legal matters ongoing, and with respect to that, we continue to render legal assistance to Miss Cassandra Leong.
How long is some time now exactly? Give me a time range.
Well, our last communication was around the time that she was released lawfully from detention.
December.
After the last Congress went into sine die.
You haven't spoken to her since December 2024. That's nearly a year, attorney.
Or thereabouts. I cannot really put a finger on the exact date when communication ceased, but it has been for quite some time.
Meanwhile, the Philippine Center for Transnational Crime, or PCTC, has requested an Interpol red notice for former spokesman Harry Roque. Roque likewise has an arrest warrant out for qualified human trafficking. He is also facing a sedition case for spreading the so-called Polvoron video, which allegedly showed President Marcos snorting cocaine. In a statement, Roque said his asylum request insulates him from being arrested by Dutch authorities, following the principle of non-refoulement. Roque, who is currently in the Netherlands, once again called these actions purely politically motivated.
Okay, let's tackle this further. We've got Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission spokesperson, Vincent Castro. Good evening, attorney. Thanks for joining us again.
Hi, good evening, ladies. By the way, I'm not a lawyer. Just
I know,
call me Director Castro or Winston.
I was
Thank
about
you for
to
the promotion, nevertheless.
I was about to say attorney. No, before we get to the interview, I just wanted to correct something. We said that Cassandra Ong was released in December 2024, but Shawn is saying it's June 2025.
No,
right?
no. The release order, she received the release order on December 16, 2024.
Correct.
The order was issued by the Quadcom December 12 of 2024.
So there's a bit of a debate kasi, and it's quite confusing what happened exactly, especially since we had attorney Ferdinand Topacio on the show this afternoon as well, and even I couldn't extract a real date from him. He just kept saying around that time. So kailan ba talaga siya nakawala? Is it December or June?
I got a copy of the release order that he signed, and the date of receipt was December 16, 2024. And the order of the release from the Quadcom, signed by all the committee chairmen of the Quadcom, was on December 12, 2024.
That's also what I know, December 2024.
But when was she released? Does anyone actually know, Sir Winston?
Well, Attorney Topacio should have known because he was the one who received Miss Cassandra Leong when she was released from the Correctional Institution for Women. And I would like to believe na base doon sa nakita kong dokumento, she got out of CIW from the custody of the Quadcom last December 16, 2024.
Okay, and the way that would have, kumbaga, played out is her lawyer would be there, malamang, no, to greet her, kumbaga, and to facilitate the release, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Attorney Topacio and the other lawyers, other counsels of Cassie Ong would have been there.
Yeah, except yun nga, when we spoke to him this afternoon, he also was a bit, well, not a bit, was very vague about when the last time he spoke to Cassandra Ong was. He just kept saying around that time when she was released. And sabi ko December 2024, and he said, yes, around that time. Hard for me to put a finger on it, is what he said. But anyways, let's move on. We just had breaking news a few minutes ago. Apparently, Pasig Regional Trial Court Branch 157 has approved the request to cancel the passports of Cassandra Leong and former spokesman Harry Roque. I wonder if... Narinig niyo na yun, sir?
Yes, it is confirmed.
Yeah.
This afternoon, Branch 157 with the Pasig RTC, through its presiding judge, released an order granting the omnibus petition of the Philippine government to cancel the passports of Mr. Roque, Mr. Cunanan, Ms. Catherine Cassandra Leong, Ms. Ronalyn Baterna, and one more lady. I just can't recall the other name. There were 5 passports that were canceled.
Okay, so they're effectively stateless at this point. And then with the red notice, I understand that the one for Cassandra has been issued, but the one for Harry Roque, you're still waiting to hear from Interpol on, correct?
That is affirmative, ladies. The red notice for Cassandra Ong and Ronalyn Baterna were issued on the 13th of this month. And the Philippine government was in receipt of that via email a few days after. But it was posted immediately on the I-24/7 iPortal of the Interpol.
Because local media only got wind of it in the last couple of days. So akala namin recently lang. But November 13 pa na-issue tong red notice.
October 13, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, October 13.
Yes, it had to go to several channels because kasama dun sa application natin for the red notice were applications also for Mr. Cunanan and Mr. Roque. And the Interpol asked for some additional information with regards to the 2 gentlemen. So there was a delay in the release of those documents via hard copy because the Philippine government, through the Philippine Center for Transnational Crime, under its executive director, Undersecretary Anthony Alcantara, needed to reply first to submit a response to the query of the Interpol.
So kay Cassandra was October 13. When do you expect to hear with the Harry Roque's case, the request for a red notice?
I really can't put a definitive answer to that question, ladies, kasi we are at the mercy, so to speak, of the protocol and procedures of the Interpol.
Director, going back to Cassie Ong, one question that's on a lot of people's mind is how did she manage to slip outside or out of the country? The Bureau of Immigration has no record of her leaving the Philippines. So what likely happened there, Director? Did she use the same backdoor exit as Alice Go did last year?
At this point, I'm not at liberty to answer that question, given that there is an ongoing investigation as to where her current location is now. Remember, the last tracking that we had in relation to Ong and Baterna was still in January of this year. It's basically how many months ago? No?
11.
So, again, there was nothing to prevent them from leaving. So, I do understand the frustration of some of our kababayans in as much as, bakit hindi nyo binantayan 24/7? If we did that, that would be constitutive of a violation of our constitutional rights to mobility, to freedom of mobility. We cannot do a 24/7 surveillance on a person with whom there is no legal argument or there is no legal instrument to do so. No? So the current government does not do shortcuts, so to speak. And when the arrest warrant was issued on the 8th of May, the following this year, our law enforcement agencies were unable to pin her down, so to speak. So, ayan nga po, up until now, we still don't know where she is definitively, but thankfully, we have a red notice and we have a local arrest warrant. So, medyo maliit na po ang mundo nila. Kaya, on behalf of the government, ladies, I hope you do indulge me. Ako po'y nananawagan sa kanila na sumuko na lamang po ng mapayapa kasi mahirap po yung tago ng tago. Wherever they go, mahanap po sila.
Actually, Sir Winston, I was wondering, just to backtrack, after nung nagyari nga with Alice Go, nakita natin na nahanap siya sa Indonesia and that whole cat and mouse chase, I was assuming at least na medyo naselyahan na yung mga ports natin, yung mga backdoor because the BI has no control over that. Would you know, Sir Winston, kung nagkaroon ba ng changes sa patakaran in terms of other ports of exit and entry in the country?
Well, yes. I give it to the Bureau of Immigration, the Philippine Ports Authority, as well as the Office of Transportation Security and other port and border regulatory agencies. They've been doing a lot to be able to seal our borders, so to speak. Kaya lang, I hope the public would understand that we've got a very porous border that we share with with another archipelagic country, Indonesia for that matter, and Malaysia. So medyo malawak po. We cannot possibly guard all of our maritime borders. That would limit our other law enforcement ability and even our ability to guard the West Philippine Sea.
Director, how do we explain nga na walang records ng kanyang pag-alis? Is it possible that there was collusion with some agencies so that she can leave the country untraced?
Well, I could definitely say na wala na. No government officer, no matter how lowly or no matter how high and mighty he or she may be, would go through that ordeal again. Kasi mahuhuli at mahuhuli eh. We would find out the Bureau of Immigration and the Department of Justice have hauled to jail a good number of immigration officers who are into illicit activities. So I don't think na merong pang mga ngahas. But these individuals are criminally motivated. So they have criminal links, criminal networks. So I would imagine that if ever they got out of the country and there is no immigration record of their departure, chances are they sought assistance of criminal enterprises to get out via the back door.
That's what I wanted to ask you, Sir Winston. No? Matagal nang pinagmawalan yung POGOs. We've deported so many POGO workers or ex-POGO workers. But as it stands right now, I'm pretty sure may mga remnants pa eh. What do you know and what can you tell us about what's left of the POGOs no? After the ban of President Marcos, because they're still pretty much proliferating around Southeast Asia?
For one, the Philippines has set the gold standard in as much as the fight against offshore gaming operations are concerned. In fact, just this afternoon, we received 3 different embassies who were looking into how we did it. So we informed them of what we've done to be able not only to ban. Banning is one thing, but to be able to clean them out, so to speak, is another. What we're seeing now are basically remnants na lang, mga guerrilla operations. And again, I have to thank the NBI, the PNP, and the Bureau of Immigration. Kung nasusundan po ninyo ang mga balita every week, they're able to apprehend 5, 6, a few. These are just remnants. So parang mapping up operations na po ito. And with the passage of Republic Act 12312 or the anti-POGO law, we're supposed to come up with a report to the President October of next year. We're confident that the infrastructure will be gone. And so will the remaining foreign nationals who are into these illegal activities.
Is this still what you guys are mainly busy with at the PAOK, sir? We were wondering kanina ni Pawi before we went to air. Kung yung pa rin ba?
Hindi naman, ladies, kasi kakaunti na lang sila. So, bear in mind that the Commission works on 18 other crime clusters. No, so we're working against illegal environmental crimes and so on and so forth, corruption and the like. For example, PAOK was in receipt of a list of 387 illegal mining sites all over the country. So we're doing a lot of case build-up to be able to go after these illegal mining sites. These are not run-of-the-mill small mining operations, but huge mining operations without the necessary permits. And some of them, they're being run by foreigners as well. So yun, pinagkakabalahan po namin. And not only that, meron pa ho kaming 50 cases that we are litigating together with DOJ and the PNP and NBI that are products of the anti-POGO operation. So marami pa. Dati pa namin trabaho.
Winston, let me just come back to Cassandra Ong's case. I know the passport has been canceled, but do you have any indication at all that she might have other passports in hand?
We have no information either way. We could not, I cannot answer that with a definitive yes or no. But then again, what is crucial here, ladies, is the issuance of the red notice. Wherever she may be, we can always ask for the assistance of any Interpol member state to effect the arrest, hold her in temporary custody while we apply either for, one, extradition, if there's a bilateral party, there's a bilateral treaty between the country where she is and the Philippines, or second, deportation proceedings, or third, international treaties could kick in, such as the United Nations Transnational Organized Crime Convention. For example, Mr. Roque is in the Netherlands. We have no bilateral extradition with the Netherlands, but the Netherlands is a party of the UNTOC. So we could employ the commitment of the Netherlands and the Philippines in relation to the UNTOC, the United Nations Transnational Organized Crime Convention, or the Palermo Convention.
Except it's what's complicating things is that he's applying for asylum. But we've run out of time, so we'll just leave it there for now. Thanks so much for talking to us, Presidential Anti-Crime Commission spokesperson Winston Casio.
We're just going to take a quick break, but coming up, more senators voice opposition to a supposed plan to force the resignation of the president and the vice president to install a civilian military junta. The details of that story and more when we return. Keep it here on One News.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on The Big Story. Senator Erwin Tulfo is calling for an investigation into the alleged money-making scheme by BIR examiners wherein they extort businesses through letters of authority. Tulfo filed Senate Resolution 180 after businessmen approached his office to complain about examiners issuing LOAs to audit their books despite them complying with all tax requirements. A company, for instance, would pay the assessed tax of 150 million pesos, but only 100 million would be put on paper. The remaining 25 million would go to the examiner, and another 25 would be declared as discount.
Habang abalang-abala po tayong lahat dito po sa flood control, may nangyayari pong korupsyon naman dito po sa Bureau of Internal Revenue. Kaya po nasabi ko po nga pangalawa sa corruption na ahensya, number 1 po ang DPWH, pangalawa po ang Bureau of Internal Revenue. Dahil sobra-sobra po yung kanilang ginagawa, kahit nagbayad na po yung isang negosyante, negosyo ng kanyang buwis, i-inspeksyonin pa po.
And so today, newly minted BIR Commissioner Charlito Martin Mendoza ordered the suspension of all audit operations, including the issuance and signing of LOAs and mission orders. Mendoza said the BIR will review its processes to protect taxpayer rights and strengthen the agency's audit processes. All right, let's try to get some answers now from someone who knows the processes in the BIR very well. We're talking to former Internal Revenue Commissioner Kim Henares. Commissioner, good evening. Thanks for joining us.
All of you and to your viewers and listeners.
Thank you, Commissioner. LOAs, to be completely honest, matagal na namin pong naririnig itong LOAs na to that are allegedly being used to extort businesses. An examiner shows up to a business wielding a letter of authority, and the amount that's stated on the paper is usually a lot bigger than what the tax liability should really be. What can you tell us about these LOAs?
You know, the BIR cannot go talk to any taxpayer unless they have a letter of authority. So that's a permission for them to inspect the books. No? Without a letter of authority, they cannot inspect the book of a taxpayer. So whenever you have a face-to-face, there's always that opportunity, unless you have safeguard measures. And that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So the thing there is, before I left, 6 months before I left, I issued a policy that you can only audit a taxpayer 2 consecutive years. If you want to audit him the 3rd year, consecutive year, you have to say that there's fraud, or if you audit them and you assess an amount that's minuscule, not significant, you have to explain why did you audit him again. So that policy I have placed when I was there, but I don't think they are implementing that.
But I guess you're absolutely correct to point out that LOAs are legitimate documents. But do we know at what point they started becoming, they started getting weaponized? They started getting used for wrongdoing? Do you have any idea?
It can be weaponized if you don't have any control measure. How do you control it? By setting policies on who you can audit. You cannot just have free for all that you can audit anyone. Normally, there's a policy, that there's a big discrepancy, or let's say, because to me, all taxpayers need to be audited once in their lifetime. When you get audited, it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Sometimes you just want to make sure they understand how they file their return. So there are policies where when the taxpayer has the discrepancy, because you have a lot of audit fail. You have somebody report a sale, you report a purchase. If it doesn't match, then that triggers a question. Or you have withholding tax, somebody withheld taxes from you, but you never reported it. So that again triggers a So there's a reason for issuing a letter of authority. It has to be written out properly. What I cannot lang is that recently, from what I heard, is that the businessman, tinatagtad sila ng letter of authority. Hindi pa sila tapos ng 1 year. I think in a year, they have 3 letter of authorities. To me, we should let businessmen do their business so that they can pay taxes. If you keep on auditing them, they don't have time to do their business. They're just dealing with the BIR. So how will they generate revenue? And if they don't generate revenue, how will they pay taxes?
That's what I wanted to understand, Commissioner. Why did you, at the end of your term, issue that memo saying that 2 consecutive years max lang? Was it because you noticed that this was already getting abused by perhaps some RDOs?
No, because I was noticing that may sinusuki, there are taxpayer. It can work because the taxpayer itself is in collusion with the BIR, Because once they get audited, their books are closed, then tapos na yon, So there are taxpayer who collude with the BIR and want them to and tell them to audit them, May pinag-usapan na yan. Yun one side ng corruption. The other side is yung BIR na tao, meron silang sinusuki kasi every time they audit this person pays up. Because if you don't pay up, they will not come back to you, because it takes a lot of effort.
Okay. Meron isa pa kasi, Commissioner, yung RAF, diba? Run after fake transactions or yung mga peking resibo. Yeah, it's really part of it.
Itong mga euphemisms na to.
That was way after your time. The proliferation of that, we know na, of course, di ba may mga raid pa sa Eastwood that happened. How do you tie that in with siguro naging justification na rin sa pagdami ng LOA?
Actually, yung run after fake receipt, yan yata yung RAF.
Yes.
My question there is they should look into the file, because if this is a tax fraud case, what I understand is you cannot abate nor compromise the surcharge and interest, because it's a fraud. What I understood is that some taxpayer this was told to me anecdotally, your choice is to pay 100% of your basic, or you pay 50% of the basic and you split. Of the 50%, only a certain amount is receipted and the other amount is not. My question there is this has assessment, and the assessment says fraud assessment and interest and surcharge. If that's the case, you cannot compromise this or you cannot abate this. You are required to pay the full amount. So if this is true, then it can be easily checked in the record of the BIR, because you have a preliminary assessment notice, you have a final assessment notice, and then you see how much was paid. If the full amount is not paid with the surcharge and interest, then there's a problem.
But Commissioner, another issue being raised is the use of LOAs to meet collection targets. I mean, how big of a factor are collection pressures in creating opportunities for abuse? Is that also a big part of the problem?
We have to recognize that there's a lot of people who are not paying the right taxes. So you really have to audit them. And you usually your collection from assessment will occupy around 5% of the total collection of the BIR. And also, because of your assessment, you are also guiding the behavior of taxpayer to comply with tax laws. Because if they are not afraid that they will be audited, magdadaya siya. Yun yung thinking. So, kailangan mo rin silang i-audit para to keep on their toes.
It's a bit of a chicken and egg situation.
Two sides of it. Pero
I was going to say, the letter of authority in itself is neutral. It's like a gun.
Yeah.
If it is used for good, it's okay. If you use it for bad, to murder somebody, then it's bad. Yeah. But in itself, it's a neutral instrument. Letter of authority is a neutral instrument. It just becomes bad because the intention was to collect not taxes, but something for their own profit.
Right. Yeah. So how do you see this playing out now that Senate Resolution 180 has been passed and the Blue Ribbon might be looking into this? In your head, as former BIR commissioner and one of the most feared at that, Commissioner Henares, how do you see that investigation playing out? And do you think madali lang makahuli? Because we're looking at these flood control anomalies, and it's not actually that easy, right?
Yeah, but in BIR, there's a lot of, everything is documented, no? So your argument that usually the preliminary assessment notice, let's say, I heard this from somebody, their revenue is 7 and they got 7 billion and they got an assessment of 11. So that's traceable. So why is it like this, no? So you actually audit that because everything has a record. There's a docket, no? For all letter of authority, there's a docket behind it, no? You have a notice of discrepancy, preliminary assessment notice, you have final assessment notice, and then the payment, no? So if you look at the file, you will notice, how come it's like this?
No, I mean
Natatawaran
everything,
kasi minsan
natatawaran
mo tapos yung may extra na lang na that's not on paper that goes to...
And then everything might be documented, but as you said, when they come face to face, could be an entirely different story. Last week, I was just moderating a panel with the chair of the Makati Business Club and PCCI, and they both say LOAs are still a big problem for the businesses, and majority of their businesses would rather, settle it. Which is lingo for, just pay off the bribe, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the reason why they keep on coming back to the same business. No?
Yeah, kaya nga eh.
Because you pay up eh. So it tells the BIR people there's something to be had. So every year they go back to you. Diba? If you don't pay up and if don't pay up and you fight it, the first year it's difficult, but at least you send a message. Don't come, you cannot earn anything from me, right?
Iipitin ka daw eh.
Medyo it's a lot of also my friends, they tell me it's really causing a lot of anxiety. It's never happened to them before, And the more correct, I've even heard anecdotes na, the more correct the reporting is, the bigger the suspicion that's coming from the auditors. So parang they don't know what to do.
So if you don't pay off, iipitin ka. You get more hassled.
Yeah, because the problem is that, when I was BIR commissioner, I wanted young people to join the BIR, no? Because supposedly I want idealistic people to come in. But unfortunately, the young people that coming into BIR are nagmamadali, no? These young people who just joined the BIR are the ones that committing a lot of the corruption because they're in a hurry to make money.
Ay, nako. Okay.
So there's also a problem among the young people, right?
Right.
I thought they were going to be the answer, but anyways, we'll save that for another day. Thank you so much for talking to us and shedding light on this issue. Former BIR Commissioner Kim Henares.
All right, now in other news, Senator Ping Lacson confirms that there is a plot to overthrow the government, which he described as orchestrated and calibrated, and replace it with a civilian military junta. He said some retired police and military officers reached out to him, though he did not respond to any of them. According to Lacson, he received the invitation before the Iglesia ni Cristo rally last November 16, and after the first video of former Congressman Zaldy Co came out. The plan was to remove the president and vice president and form a caretaker government. Aside from Lacson, Senate President Tito Soto and Senator Erwin Tulfo also voiced opposition to the said plot.
Hindi naman unstable, kundi sinasamantala nila yung perception nila na unstable yung government. Kaya nga sabi ko mukhang orchestrated lahat yung series of events leading up to the INC rally. Di ba mayroon pang gusto mag-infiltrate na sasali sa INC rally? Ang intention was to march to Malacanang. Hindi lang pinayagan ng INC na pinalis nila yung mga BBM design, di ba?
it'll be very difficult. Anything unconstitutional as far as running the government is concerned, we will turn into a banana republic.
I don't think na magkakaroon ng traction yon because number one, hindi naman paig ang civil society. Number two, hindi rin paig ang simbahan yung mga pronouncement ng church kasi it's against the Constitution.
We're going to take a very quick breather, but right after that, we'll be checking in on tropical depression Verbena's track and the possibility of it intensifying as it moves through the Visayas. Keep it here on The Big Story.
Thanks for staying with us here on The Big Story. Tropical depression Verbena has made landfall in Surigao del Sur and may intensify along the way. Landfall occurred at around 1:30 this afternoon. Verbena was last spotted at the vicinity of Habonga, Agusan del Norte, packing winds of 45 kilometers per hour and gustiness of 55 kph, which is much weaker than previous cyclones. Verbena is moving westward across the Caraga region, Visayas, and northern Palawan before emerging over the West Philippine Sea on Wednesday, where it may peak at severe tropical storm category. Verbena will exit the Philippine Area of Responsibility on Thursday. Signal number 1 is raised over 5 Luzon provinces, including Occidental and Oriental Mindoro, 15 Visayas provinces, including Cebu, Bohol, Samar, and Leyte, and 10 Mindanao provinces, including Agusan and Surigao. Meanwhile, PHIVOX has issued separate lahar advisories for Mount Canaon in Negros Island and Mayon Volcano in Albay. PHIVOX warned that heavy to intense rainfall brought about by Verbena may generate life-threatening lahar flow and affect residents in Negros Occidental, Negros Oriental, and Albay.
In other news, former Vice President, now Naga City Mayor Leni Robredo says she'll attend the Trillion Peso March on November 30. Robredo will not take part in the program, opting to stay on the sidelines to protest the massive corruption in government.
Sa inyo kaya mga araw kani dapat private dapat private sector, dapat man nagpapapel ang gobyerno. Pero gusto ko lang ipakita na very supportive ang city government sa mga araw na action.
The opposition standard bearer in 2022 has also sidestepped questions about making another run in 2028, saying she remains focused on her term as Naga mayor.
Maya ko na punta ko mo. Hindi kita makakakonsentrate kada ako ng problema dito. Hindi kita makakapokus pag para i-intindi tayo.
Meanwhile, the Trillion Peso March movement, which is organizing Sunday's rally, is firm that there will be no calls for either President Marcos or Vice President Sara Duterte to resign. They fear that another political dynasty will just fill the leadership vacuum. The movement is also against a military junta, a revolutionary government, or any other extra-constitutional action. Meantime, it's not only in Manila where the anti-corruption rallies on Sunday will take place. The Archdiocese of Cebu and the Cebu Anti-Corruption Coalition are organizing a rally called SUPAC, which translates to Cebuano Stand Against Corruption. The program will begin with a mass at the historic Santo Niño Basilica, followed by a peace march from the Basilica to Osmeña Circle.
And before we go, our big picture tonight is Malacanang, all lit up for the holiday season. President Marcos and the First Family led the annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony at the palace on Sunday night. In his pre-Christmas message, the president addressed his cabinet, which just went through another revamp to reflect and remember reuniting with the family during the Yuletide season.
What a joy it is to be reminded that we are now in the Christmas season. No matter how heavy the loads that we feel sometimes in the work that we do, hindi ako yan. Yung mga cabinet secretary, may mga sila ganyan. Ako, wala ako nararamdaman na ganun. I don't know what they're talking about when they tell me about it.
to react to that.
Ako din.
Does he mean he doesn't feel the burden of his cabinet?
Yeah.
Or he doesn't, or he's trying to say na, para
I'm
sa
okay.
akin, that's just all in
Business
a
as
day's
usual.
work. I'll carry on. Or hindi siya nabibigatan sa problems ng bansa.
All while
Is that what
wearing
he's
a
trying to
green-
say? I don't
yeah, a
understand.
green shirt.
President in green.
Yeah.
I did understand it. In any case, I thought it was inappropriate because, well,
It was Christmas.
No, also because it's such a... You don't want to be seen as taking it lightly, right?
That's
the
true.
burden that your cabinet is carrying on behalf of the administration. But that's just me. What do I know?
I know, we're not the president, for better or worse.
That's some food for thought tonight. But for this Monday, that's it for the Big Story. Thank you so much for watching.
We are back here tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. We'll see you then.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Good night.